How to learn English. Elara often felt a knot in her stomach whenever she considered speaking English. The desire to communicate freely was immense, yet an overwhelming fear of making mistakes always held her back. She'd spend hours thinking, how to learn English, but the path seemed daunting, shrouded in uncertainty and self-doubt. Every word felt like a potential trap, and every sentence a perilous journey. She yearned for fluent conversation. Her primary goal was simple: how to talk with anyone. However, the reality was starkly different. When faced with an opportunity, her mind would race, scrambling for perfect grammar and precise vocabulary. This internal struggle often resulted in silence, or a hesitant, broken sentence, confirming her deepest fear about imperfection. She truly wanted to avoid errors. "I don't want to make mistakes, but I always do. Why?" This lament echoed in her mind nightly. Each grammatical slip or mispronounced word felt like a public declaration of her inadequacy. It wasn't just about sounding bad. It was about feeling foolish, and that feeling deterred her from taking the necessary risks for improvement. The cycle was frustrating. She realized that vocabulary was a major hurdle. How to learn words? Flashcards felt tedious, and memorizing lists seemed ineffective in real conversations. Words would vanish from her memory precisely when she needed them most, leaving her stranded mid-sentence, searching for the right expression. This vocabulary gap widened the chasm. Then came the suggestion: listen English. Initially, it felt passive, not directly addressing her speaking fear. She'd put on podcasts, watch movies without subtitles, but often found herself drifting, not actively processing the sounds and meanings. The sheer volume of new information was overwhelming. Consistency was key. One day, an English tutor suggested how to talk to people in pairs. The idea of one-on-one interaction felt less intimidating than a group, yet still slightly terrifying. The pressure to perform, even with just one person, was significant. What if she made too many blunders? Would her partner judge her harshly? She decided to give it a try. Her first partner, a patient student named Leo, immediately put her at ease. They started with simple introductions, then moved to discussing their day. Elara still stumbled, but Leo's encouraging nods and gentle corrections slowly chipped away at her anxiety. This English talking practice felt different. The paired conversations slowly transformed from dreaded assignments into valuable learning opportunities. Elara began to see that making mistakes was not the end of the world. Instead, they were indicators of what she needed to learn next. This shift in perspective was monumental, freeing her from internal paralysis. She discovered that active listening significantly improved her comprehension and speaking. By truly focusing on Leo's words, she picked up natural phrasing, intonation patterns, and idiomatic expressions. It was no longer just about understanding. It was about absorbing the rhythm of the language. This amplified her progress. Her vocabulary acquisition also improved dramatically. Instead of isolated words, she started learning words in context from their conversations. When Leo used a new phrase, she'd ask for its meaning, then try to incorporate it into her own sentences later that day. This contextual learning stuck. Elara also began a structured English study plan for talking. It wasn't about rigid grammar rules anymore. Her plan focused on output, daily short recordings of herself speaking, repeating sentences from podcasts, and preparing topics for her paired sessions. This active engagement was transformative for her. She dedicated specific time slots each day to different aspects of her plan. Mornings were for listening to diverse English accents. Afternoons were for focused vocabulary review, always connecting new words to topics she enjoyed discussing. Evenings were reserved for speaking practice, her most crucial activity. The fear of how to speak with people started to dissipate. The more she practiced in a safe environment, the more natural the act of speaking became. Her confidence grew with each successful interaction, no matter how small. The internal critic's voice grew fainter. She embraced recording herself, even though listening to her own voice felt awkward at first. It provided invaluable feedback. She could identify pronunciation issues, notice repetitive phrases, and celebrate her progress. This self-assessment was a powerful tool for improvement. One breakthrough moment came when she realized that perfect grammar wasn't always necessary for connection. What truly mattered was conveying her message, even with minor errors. People understood her, and that understanding fueled her desire to speak even more. The pressure was lifting. Elara started seeking out opportunities to speak English beyond her structured practice. She joined an online international book club, where discussions were lively and diverse. The informal setting allowed her to experiment with new phrases without the constant pressure of formal accuracy. Her listening skills became incredibly sharp. She could now follow complex narratives, understand nuances, and even appreciate humor in English. This deepened her engagement with the language and made learning feel less like a chore and more like an exciting exploration. She discovered that learning words wasn't just about memorization. It was about active recall and association. She started using mind maps to connect related vocabulary, making the learning process more visual and interconnected. This holistic approach made words stick more effectively. The how to talk with anyone goal seemed less distant. She found herself initiating conversations, asking questions, and expressing opinions with newfound ease. The initial hesitation was replaced by a genuine curiosity about others and their perspectives. Communication felt liberating. She understood that mistakes were not failures but stepping stones. Each error highlighted an area for improvement, a specific point to focus on during her next study session. This mindset transformed her frustration into a clear path forward, making learning continuous. Elara also learned the importance of context in vocabulary. Simply knowing a word's definition wasn't enough. She needed to understand its common collocations and the situations in which it was typically used. This nuanced understanding made her speech sound more natural. Her paired practice sessions evolved. She and Leo began role-playing different scenarios, preparing for job interviews, or simulating travel experiences. This practical application of language skills made her feel ready for real-world interactions. They had fun while learning. The concept of an English study plan for talking became her personalized blueprint. It wasn't a rigid schedule but a flexible guide, allowing her to adapt to her energy levels and focus on areas where she felt most challenged. It empowered her journey. She started to enjoy the process of learning, rather than just focusing on the outcome. The small victories, understanding a complex sentence, successfully expressing a difficult idea, brought immense satisfaction. This positive reinforcement kept her motivated daily. The fear of, "I don't want to make mistakes," gradually faded away. She realized that native speakers also make mistakes, and that fluency wasn't about perfection, but about effective communication. This acceptance liberated her from self-imposed pressure. Her listening practice became more diverse. She explored different genres of podcasts, listened to audiobooks, and even watched stand-up comedy in English. Exposure to various voices and speaking styles broadened her comprehension and pronunciation awareness. She understood that active listening meant more than just hearing words. It meant processing meaning, identifying tone, and predicting what might come next. This deeper engagement made her a more responsive and effective conversationalist. Her interactions improved. Elara integrated new technologies into her vocabulary learning. She used language learning apps that employed spaced repetition, ensuring that words were reviewed just before she was likely to forget them. This optimized her retention and expanded her lexicon efficiently. The challenge of how to learn words turned into an exciting treasure hunt. She started noticing new words in everyday contexts, song lyrics, news headlines, product descriptions, and actively sought to understand and use them. Every interaction was a chance. Her paired conversations evolved into genuine friendships. She and Leo often discussed personal interests, shared stories, and even offered each other support, demonstrating the true power of language in building connections. It was beyond just learning. Elara began to share her learning strategies with others who were struggling. She emphasized the importance of consistent English talking practice and the need to view mistakes as valuable data points, not as failures. She became an advocate. She encouraged new learners to find a supportive partner, just as she had found in Leo. The psychological safety of a non-judgmental environment proved crucial for building the initial confidence needed to overcome speaking anxiety. It was a game changer. Her English study plan for talking now included practicing public speaking, even if it was just to her reflection in the mirror. She imagined different scenarios, rehearsing responses and building muscle memory for spontaneous conversation. This prepared her. The question of how to learn English no longer felt like an overwhelming riddle. It was a continuous journey, filled with small manageable steps. Each step contributed to her overall progress, making the vastness of the language less daunting and more inviting. She recognized that consistent exposure to authentic English was vital. Her listening wasn't just passive background noise anymore. It was an active engagement with the language in its natural habitat, fostering intuitive understanding and fluency. Elara started maintaining a mistake journal, noting down common errors she made. This systematic approach allowed her to identify patterns and target specific grammatical structures or pronunciation issues for focused practice. It was very effective. The fear of how to speak with people transformed into eagerness. She sought out opportunities to converse with native speakers, even if it meant being vulnerable and making mistakes. Each interaction was a victory, a testament to her progress. She realized that genuine interest in the other person's thoughts and feelings made conversations flow more naturally. It wasn't about showing off her English, but about truly connecting. This mindset shifted the entire dynamic of her interactions. Elara's confidence soared, not just in English, but in her general ability to learn and overcome challenges. The journey of mastering a language had taught her resilience, patience, and the power of consistent, dedicated effort. She was proud of her growth. She no longer thought about, "I don't want to make mistakes." Instead, her focus shifted to, "How can I express this idea clearly?" This positive framing allowed her to experiment, take risks, and ultimately communicate more effectively and authentically. Her vocabulary learning evolved further. She began to use new words in her internal monologue, crafting sentences in her head even when alone. This constant mental engagement solidified new words and made them readily available for use. The importance of pronunciation became clearer. While mistakes were acceptable, clear articulation enhanced understanding. She started shadowing native speakers, mimicking their sounds and intonation, which greatly improved her spoken English. Elara found joy in the nuances of English, appreciating different regional accents and speech patterns. Her listening skills allowed her to discern subtle differences, adding depth to her appreciation of the language's richness and diversity. The English talking practice she undertook became less about formal exercise and more about joyful interaction. She joined local English-speaking meetups, making new friends and sharing cultural experiences through the common language. Her how-to-learn words strategy now included reading extensively in English. Novels, articles, and even online forums exposed her to a vast array of vocabulary in natural contexts, enriching her lexicon effortlessly and enjoyably. She understood that consistent immersion, even if self-created, was critical. Surrounding herself with English content, music, videos, books ensured constant exposure, reinforcing what she learned and building an intuitive feel for the language. The goal of how to talk with anyone had been achieved. She could engage in spontaneous conversations, express complex ideas, and even debate respectfully. Her fear had been replaced by a quiet confidence and genuine enjoyment. Elara often reflected on her initial struggles, marveling at how far she had come. The journey had been challenging, yet every hurdle overcome had strengthened her resolve and deepened her understanding of effective language acquisition. She believed that anyone could achieve fluency, provided they adopted the right mindset and consistent strategies. It wasn't about innate talent, but about sustained effort, embracing mistakes and finding joy in the process. Her story became an inspiration, a testament to the power of perseverance. She proved that the path to speaking English confidently was not about avoiding errors, but about embracing them as guides towards improvement. Elara's journey highlighted that a comprehensive English study plan for talking must integrate listening, vocabulary, and direct speaking practice. Each component supports the others, creating a powerful synergy for rapid progress and fluency. She often told people that the initial discomfort of how to talk to people in pairs quickly diminishes. It transforms into a comfortable learning space where authentic communication can blossom, building confidence from the ground up. The emphasis on Listen English was not just about passive absorption, but active engagement. Understanding the melody of the language, the stress and intonation, was crucial for sounding natural and being clearly understood by others. Her secret to how to learn words was not rote memorization, but contextual learning and consistent application. Using new words in conversation and writing made them truly her own, solidifying them in her active vocabulary. Elara's transformation from a hesitant learner to a confident speaker was complete. Her initial fear of "I don't want to make mistakes" had evolved into a joyful acceptance of the learning process, errors and all.